Episodes. How about you, Rubik? It's been kind of crazy how quick this is going.
Yeah, it's growing fast as well. Seeing a lot of more viewers come into the platform and to the pod. Lots of interest in Immutable, so we've picked a good subject matter, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm super excited for this one, meeting who you're about to introduce.
Yeah. I think hands down, best guest to date. We have Inga here from the roll-ups team at Immutable. Hello, welcome, Inga. Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you all, and very excited to be here.
Thanks so much for coming on. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what made you kind of gravitate towards Immutable?
I have a very interesting story at Immutable because I've been with the company for almost 3 years, which is an Immutable time frame. It's like 10. I joined actually on Gods Unchained side because I have background in game engineering and game development. And that's how I slowly got dragged into the Web3 world, because my background is actually games. I got very interested in the underlying technology back then. It was only StarkX. I started experimenting and playing with some of the technology on my own, and slowly moved to platform. In the beginning, I worked as technical lead for our mainstream squad. It was a couple of years ago. My squad was the one who built the integration for MoonPay, so you can exchange funds, bring funds into the system, and integrated the Magic Wallet as a solution for some of our non-Web3 native partners.
Wow, that's no small feat right there. Let's pause
I
right
use
there.
MoonPay. I use MoonPay. MoonPay is a savior. Thank you for that.
Absolutely, 1000%. MoonPay has been a savior for onboarding and interfacing with Web3. So huge props to that.
Yeah, it was a very interesting project. I'm very happy with how it played out. But after that, I decided I want to dive a bit deeper into the Web3 space. And that's how I ended up in Rollups, which is what we call a blockchain-heavy space at Immutable. Because in my team, we have most of the blockchain engineers and protocol engineers. And now it's called Rollups team. So that's the team who's responsible for building the underlying platform-level technology for all of our products to be integrated with.
So that's all, like StarkX is anything to do with StarkX and anything to do with ZK EVM that's being built now?
Yes.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, obviously, how long have you been working on ZK EVM, if you're allowed to speak about that? Has that been a major focus of what you're working on now? Do you want to break that down?
Currently, yes. Currently, our main focus is ZK-VM, which is built in strategic alliance with Polygon Labs, as you'll probably know. We're very excited about this. We're also very close to some very exciting news around this space. I don't know if you're aware, but we're already in alpha with our testnet. So we have we're testing the integration, seeing how all of this comes together, and we're very excited because we should be able to present it to all of you very, very soon.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. So I did hear from a little birdie that the alpha was, the testnet was there and live, and everyone was, getting a chance to play around with it. So exciting to hear it from your mouth now. I guess from your mouth to God's ears it goes. And we're excited. I'm definitely excited about how much growth this is going to bring to Immutable, and just given the tools that you can utilize with the ZK EVM technology, interacting with full-on smart contracts and things of that nature, instead of just the StarkX implementation, allows for a lot more growth for Immutable. When working on the EVM technology, I guess, what has been, I guess, your biggest pain point so far?
Look, you call it pain point, I call it an adventure.
I like you already.
I think for us, because we're working so closely with Polygon team right now, it is an adventure because we are integrating technology as the technology is being built. And there are obvious pros and cons to this. Some of this is, yes, the technology is developing as we're integrating, so you find interesting edge cases, you find interesting things that you haven't thought about yet. But at the same time, I think it's a very unique opportunity for us as a company to influence the direction of the whole industry. Like we are doing something that's new, that's very exciting, and being the first company who is doing that, who's trying to provide this experience, allows us to sort of pivot the whole industry in the direction that we like. At least that's how I see
it. With the big thing about ZK EVM for me is that there's going to be the API aspect of it, like the StarkX implementation, which is 100% API driven, but also the customizability. So, like when it launches on testnet, what kind of is that going to look like? Is it going to be purely API driven at the start, or purely custom driven? Are you allowed to? And also, you might not be able to answer this question. So if you aren't, I'm sorry. We'll move on to the next one.
Let me, I guess, roll back a bit. I think one of the pros of the StarkX integration is, yes, it is API driven, so it's quite easy and adaptable for the Web2 stack users, Web2 stack engineers. And I think ZK EVM addition allows us to bring more, on one hand, to bring more Web2, Web3 native users, because now you can deploy your smart contracts, you can have interesting game mechanics around this. But at the same time, what we're trying to achieve, we're trying to avoid this, okay, if you're Web2 user, use this. If you're Web3 user, use this. If you're Web2 game, use this. If you're Web3 game, use this. Instead, we're trying to marry those two groups. So depending on your level of knowledge and your level of needs as a game engineer, you should be able to build like either very deep Web3 custom mechanic that requires your own smart contracts, or you can go deploy the presets that we already made for you and just use something very simple to start you up on this Web3 journey. So I think I would suggest avoiding this. This is the Web2 API driven. This is Web3 smart contract driven. We're actually trying to build something that's usable for all the game engineers. It's just based on the level of knowledge that you have. You're going to use this technology or dive this deep into smart contracts, or just like touch upon them easily with our presets.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
I like that because it really makes it so that the technology meets the needs rather than the needs to meet the technology, right? So you're not making a game just because you want to use the blockchain and certain things. But if it means that the mechanics are better because of blockchain, great. It doesn't. That's like an added benefit. It's not necessary. It can't be the core mechanic to the game or the core reason for building the game. So I really like that approach.
Look, I think from me personally, I see this big future. As I said, I work in mainstream, which means I'm potentially very passionate about the Web2 users opening up this Web3 world for themselves. But I also think that as an industry overall, we need to start thinking about simplifying things for people who just start dabbling in this Web3 world. And here I'm talking about engineers, but also about the users. because quite often the user experience is quite complex and quite hard to pick up for the beginners. So I think our goal as engineers, if we really want to bring more Web2 users into our Web3 games, is to simplify this process for them. And Immutable is very passionate about this specific aspect of technology. How do we make those complex processes easier for the users that we're onboarding?
Is that actually travels on to the next point? Well, mutable passport checkout. D'Souza and I have both had the pleasure of testing checkout from the UI experience that doing some user testing for the company. Saw how exciting that's going to be. Is that what are you working those two products as well, or are you separate to those?
We're building the underlying tech for those products. We work, because one of the questions that you promised to ask me was around like what engineering managers do. And engineering managers are helping to align all of those product dependencies that we have, because roll apps are building the underlying tech, and then Passport uses part of this tech, Checkout uses a part of this tech, our future like traders are using part of this tech for their technology, assets for their indexer are using part of this tech. So it's very interesting. At least for me, it's very exciting to build this thing that everyone depends on, but it's also very challenging.
Yeah, and that's a big part of it, right? Because as you mentioned, part of the checkout when you're using Passport, right, is you may be paying in a different currency for gas than you're paying in to purchase, right? So having the underlying technology that you said you're working on, right, that allows that piece of it to happen, allows it to work, because without that, it just doesn't work. It's not simple enough like that. So that's really amazing, being able to see like where it all falls into place, right? From account abstraction of your email address, right, to being able to use that as your token into, hey, this is my login to this game, and it's also my wallet to house my NFTs that allow me to interact with this gaming environment, right? So that's really huge.
Yeah, I'm very excited for Passport because I also got a chance to test it and use it and play with it just to see how well we satisfy the needs of this team. And I think I see a very big future for Passport specifically, because here is the place where all of your assets are, where you have all the control. And at the same time, it's much easier to adopt than another Web3 wallet, when you need to like understand all the conversion rates and understand all the like tokens relationships. So I think it will be very, very interesting onboarding process, and interesting and hopefully simple onboarding process for the future gamers. So the future looks bright. Let's go with it.
I'd imagine that building ZK EVM is no simple task. There'd be huge amounts of issues. Like, what would you see as the biggest risk and the biggest challenge? Maybe the different questions, maybe the same question for building the product.
Look, it's quite interesting, because as an engineering manager, the talent is a very interesting aspect of it, because when you're using a new technology and when you're trying to adapt this technology for your need and build around this, the question of skills is a very interesting question. Like, are there people on the market right now that can help us to build this very interesting system? Are there people that we can upskill to help us to build this new interesting system? But I think it's like a trailblazing problem. Like, when you build something new, you learn as you go, and there is a specific risk in it, but it's also very exciting.
Interesting.
When it comes, sorry, I'm going to jump in real quick. When it comes to that risk, right? When you said, is there anyone that even has the skills to do this, right? And when it comes to that, how is it that you find Immutable has like? Do you find that Immutable has what it takes to think outside the box and really make it all work? Right? Do you feel you have like the best team that you could have?
Look, personally, I think I have the best team in the world. They are all very driven, very passionate about the things, and they're fast learners. From my perspective, that's one of the most important requirements for like any engineer. Constantly learn, constantly grow, and be curious about new things. So yeah, I believe in my team's abilities. I think the main problem with this is learning on your own mistakes is very exciting, but we would prefer to learn on someone else's.
Yeah.
But that's not an option currently.
When no one else is doing it, then it makes it hard to learn from someone else's mistakes, right? So
yes, but we're learning from ours very well. That's something that my team is very good at. Like, I also think that another very important quality for an engineer is not to be afraid of failures, because you fail, you learn from it, and you go faster next time. Working with experimental technology, you're going to make some interesting mistakes. You're going to learn from them, and you're going to build a better technology. I think being accepting of this is very important. And even in the time that we were working on this project, I can see my engineers growing so much and learning so much from this process that I think it will make all of us better engineers, and it will make the better product at the end.
Cool. In terms of your role, like we should probably ask this at the start, like what is the role of an engineer and manager at Immutable? And a little side question, do you still cut code?
I look at PRs mostly. That's the best that I have time for. I don't really write code much anymore, unless it's for my pet projects. Oops, sorry, give me 1 sec. As promised, that was the dog. So getting back to this, I think engineering managers, that's very interesting role in the industry right now, because the requirements for this role highly depend on the environment that you work in. Some engineering managers are coding and like constantly in their day-to-day responsibilities. We have engineering managers like this at Immutable who are actually very passionate about writing code, figuring out the production issues, or like building architectural solutions. And lucky for us, Immutable gives you the opportunity to do this if you want to. From my role, just because, as I said before, this is the underlying technology, underlying platform level product, there is a lot of alignment and a lot of dependencies that require management. Like, for example, if we won't finish this specific functionality and won't make it available in SDK on time, this product will be blocked until we do so. Here are the new requirements that UX designers looked at the flow that we have, and they think this is not sufficient, so they require improvements, and those improvements need to be supported on the platform level. How do I fit this into my planning for this cycle, into all the work that my engineers need to do? So it requires good understanding of what are we building. It requires good understanding of why we're building this, because the question of priorities is always the most important question. Should we build this first? Yes. Should we build this first? Who is waiting on this product? Yes. Who is waiting on this product? Will this little code change unblock everyone, but at the same time create us the production issues in the long run? What are the risks and trade-offs that we're happy to make? That's a lot of my day-to-day responsibilities. Constant monitoring of the risk, constant monitoring of the choices that we're making, and constant monitoring of the progress that we're making in the achievement of our goals.
Is there any products that you are allowed to let the cat out of the bag? Any priorities that of actual functionality that you're allowed to share with us? That's a tricky question. Sorry.
Look, I think it's not a secret to anyone that passport is a very big priority for all of us because we expect amazing things from the usage of this product. Also, Checkout is doing some amazing stuff that you've hopefully seen, and users will be very excited about this. We're also, you mentioned the API integrations before, like for our asset indexer, there will be API that you can rely on. And it's also very important to make sure that we can discover the assets that exist, that you can see them, you can do whatever you want with them, depending on your use case. So I think it's actually, there are no unimportant products. If there were unimportant, we wouldn't be working.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like how, you know, when you said learning from your mistakes and all of that, definitely like myself being an engineer and knowing what it's like to work on something where, like you said, it's a small code change now that unblocks a small area, right? But is it going to be a headache down the line, right? And we've all known those changes, and knowing how to manage that, like you said, being a manager between these different sub teams is a huge feat to be able to do, because that requires understanding the bigger picture of everything, right? So that's a big role to have to undertake. Is there anything? Actually, do you have any job openings?
We do. We're constantly hiring. So please apply. But also another thing.
Sorry, go.
Another thing that's worth mentioning, that, and don't laugh, a lot of this is actually moral support of the team. It's something that I think sometimes being underrated. We work. All of us engineers, we work in a high-stress environment, and just having support of your team, having support of your manager, understanding why you're doing things that you're doing, why is this important to deliver those things, how does it align with your career goals and interests. This is also something that engineering managers take care of, and I think we need to acknowledge it because it's a very big part of team's health and team's morale.
Oh, that's 100%.
Yeah.
I work in a team that's inherited a really, really terrible code base, and we have the most wonderful manager. And if without him, I have no idea how I would be turn up to work each day knowing that we're going to get bombarded by the business because of something that a coder has done in the past. So having that support from our manager is the reason why it's one of my favorite jobs ever. And so there's no doubt in my mind that that's not a laughable matter. It's actually in the development team is probably the most important thing. Actually, whereabouts are your teams located? Are they all in Australia or are they all around the world?
We have engineers in Australia. We have engineers in New Zealand. Some of them are in Sydney. Some of them are across Australia. So we are, I would say, heavily distributed team, which is an additional aspect that plays a role in like team morals and team interactions, because there is a bit of time difference. There is a bit of, I guess, holidays difference, and yeah, it's interesting. I really enjoy working with distributed teams because I think it gives you a chance to like strangely learn more about people living in different countries, in different cultures, coming from different backgrounds. So I think sometimes people call it a challenge. I actually see this as more of an opportunity to build a healthy team that's efficient, but at the same time that's comfortable for people with different backgrounds and maybe even different expectations.
Absolutely.
I've got a question about this is speculation from my point of view and perception more than facts. So I just wanted to see if you see what your thoughts are on this. In the past, I've seen a few comments about Immutable being slow to deliver product, and then I've seen Robbie made a comment a couple months ago about the velocity of the engineering team being like at peak levels now. Is there any truth to that statement that the engineering practices have improved over time and that the velocity of the development's improved?
Yes, we are. I think any startup and scale.
Sorry, you just gone into mute.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Let me start over. I don't know what happened here.
We were saying any startup and scale like that.
Any startup and scale up is hopefully in constant process of improving the metrics and methodologies that they apply to support the growth. And I'm actually very happy with how things are going at Immutable with this, because our engineering practices are getting more mature, our product practices are getting more mature, and it helps us a lot because I guess it's a question of metrics, right? The metrics that work for a team of 3 people will probably, and approaches that work for a team of 3 people are probably not the things that are going to work for the team of 30, and definitely not the things that are going to work for the team of 300. So I definitely see a lot of improvement there, but it doesn't happen on its own. It happens because we're constantly paying attention to this, because we're constantly monitoring what is our deliverable rate, what is our cycle time, how much time do we spend on the incidents, how much time it takes us to diagnose issues, how much time the bugs spent in the pipeline before they're fully addressed. It's constant monitoring is very important, and then adjusting your process based on the information you get from this monitoring is also very important. But I can, like, if you're asking me to share my metrics, cycle time within my team improved dramatically since we started tracking it, because tracking it is not enough. You need to address it each time. You need to look at your pipeline and say, okay, we worked on those 3 things at the same time. These 2 we estimated correctly, but this one we maybe underestimated or overestimated. What happened there? How did we get here? And what can we do better? What we can do better in the future? So I think it needs to be intentional. If the engineering team wants to make improvements, and I think every engineering team should want to make improvements, because we strive for perfection, right?
Always.
So yes, I think it's very important to be intentional about those things, because they are not going to happen on their own. If they do, you're probably very lucky. That's not my experience so far. Things don't just improve randomly out of nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a huge thing when talking about engineering workflows. When planning a sprint or something and saying, hey, it's going to take 3 days to do said thing, and the first time trying to do that operation, you may be off by a day or 2, and that's okay. But what doing that postmortem, learning, hey, where were we off and why? And then rolling that into the next iteration and saying, hey, we were off last time because of this. We learned from it. Now we know how to attack something like this, and then go from there. And like you mentioned it before, learning from those mistakes that you made previously is a huge thing. So I love seeing that at a startup, because sometimes when a startup grows, they grow so fast that things become second nature when someone joins, that, hey, oh, this is just part of the process. You'll learn to deal with it. That's not an acceptable answer, right? And that's what a lot of places tend to do, because they're growing so fast, right? And being able to get those engineering practices down early and know that, hey, this is the process. This is how we're going to go through it and learn from it. And it's okay to make a mistake. That's where you get the culture of like knowing that you're building a great product.
I think it's important to acknowledge that when we talk about mistakes, it doesn't mean, oh my God, I wrote a line of code that didn't work. It can mean I overestimated or I underestimated. It can mean I did not communicate my timeframe changes to the correct people, to the stakeholder. It can be I made the incorrect assumption about the product. It can be I just really wanted to explore this technology, so I added this very, very complex stuff that no one really needs just because they really want to try it. And so all of those things will happen. And it is okay as long as you can reflect on it and learn from it and do better next time, because that's the process of growth. And the same applies for the engineering teams overall. Yes, we tried this process. It didn't work for us. Maybe, I don't know, we tried Kanban and it didn't work, so we got back to sprints. Or maybe something else, like we try not to have stand-ups and everyone just run in their own direction, not on the same direction. So we should not try. We should.
That sounds very specifically like it happened once.
Are you in a Scrum? Is it Scrum you use? Is that the methodology for development?
Yes, but I think an interesting thing about Immutable, I just wanted to mention it, that on the company level, everyone is encouraged to challenge the processes that we have. And that's something that I think is very, very important, because we have different teams. The team that works on Passport needs to deliver their thing, and they are encouraged to figure out the process that works for them to deliver Passport. If it's Kanban, it's Kanban. If it's Scrum, it's Scrum. If they want to do something completely different, they can do something completely different and find a process that works for them. That's why some people have what they call it stand-ups, and some people have stand-downs, because they figured out that at the end of the day, stand-up, which is a stand-down, works better for them. Some people use user stories. Some people use epics. Yes, it can be a bit hard to manage when you have teams playing with like different approaches, but you can always make a case for this thing work very well for my team. Does someone else, does some other team want to try it and see if it works for them? And I think it's very healthy, because it allows you to experiment, it allows you to improve, and it allows you to share the experience with other teams.
Okay. I want to go back to the tech, what you're building, and see if I can squeeze some alpha out of you. What's the most exciting feature from what you've been building, other like maybe with the ZK EVM technology with Polygon? Is there anything that you think maybe even if it's not telling us what it is, but letting us know that there is something that's going to surprise us, or and to keep an eye out for?
There are things that are going to surprise you.
Really?
Yes, and they make me very excited, because with our main focus on game building, I think some of the new features that we're working on will make lives of game engineers much easier, and will make UX of onboarding new users much easier and a lot more exciting. So I cannot give you details, but keep an eye on the documentation.
When do we find out about that? Not the date, but at testnet,
no dates.
or no, I'm not asking for date. I'm asking for, like, is it when testnet comes live? Does that become apparent? Does it become apparent when mainnet comes live, or is there a certain point in the delivery where we'll find about these exciting things?
Look, I think the reasonable approach would be to have stuff on testnet before you have it on mainnet, right?
I love how careful you've been in answering that question. You noticeably changed your tone of voice and pace of speaking to make sure you didn't get in trouble then. So very, very smart.
Look, there are exciting things, and some of them my team is delivering, some of them other teams are delivering. No one is, let me put it like this, no one is working on boring stuff.
Yeah.
Like, some of the stuff that needed might be slightly boring around like monitoring and alerts and all of that, but it's needed to achieve this very interesting and very exciting goal. So keep an eye on the documentation page. You'll see some things coming.
Nice.
Yeah. Now you got me like waiting. I'm like gonna go over to the developer page and make sure my notifications are on anytime new documentation's uploaded.
Look, we actually have the team that's working on documentation, and they are doing absolutely amazing work. I think they are constantly improving, constantly monitoring things to make sure that the, I guess, most important questions that the engineers have are answered. But I'm sure they will appreciate any feedback that you can give on it. So please let us know how we're going with the documented stuff.
It's definitely improved over time. When the first iteration of documentation for StarkX was going to be diplomatic and say could have been better, but definitely the later stuff that's coming out makes it a little bit more simpler to follow. And again, that comes down to, I guess, what you've been saying, that everything's improving, everything with as the whole company develops from a scale up startup to being more mature. These things will just naturally get better if you put the right practices in place to allow them to. Yeah, that's it. I'm now lost for words because I'm so excited to wait to see what happens with zk-AVM. You hear things like new chains that are off Ethereum, like that Sui chain and all their claims that they can do, like all this stuff that's built for games. And I'm like, is Immutable going to have another thing up their sleeve to counteract that, to make sure that what they're offering is on par or better than that, or at least can meet the standards? So that's what I meant by that question. And hopefully that's happening.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see the future for Immutable. As we head out here, is there anything else that you want to share with us about, maybe life at Immutable? Anything specifically about what it is, what it's like for working with the Zero Knowledge team? Anything?
Look, I think something that I learned over time, that at the end of the day, we're all building things for someone. We're not building things in vacuum that are never going to be used or just going to be used by us. And being aware of this person at the end of the line, this person who is going to use your product, this person who is going to rely on your documentation, the person who is going to rely on your error codes that you give them. It's very important. Just asking this question, am I making the life of this person at the end of the line easier or harder? How are they going to use this product? What do they want from this product? This is very, very important because I don't know about you, but me as an engineer, I get overly excited about tech stuff. I'm going to say it out loud. I tend to over-engineer stuff because I'm like, I want to try this framework. I want to try this thing. And I think this more reasonable approach of let's make sure that the product that we're building serves the need of this person at the end of the line, that it's easy to use, that it's exciting to use to some extent, that's also very important, is a big learning that we all can use a bit more of.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask one more question in relation to that. Sorry, we're rolling out, but I did want to ask it about, we've seen a noticeable uptick in winning products that Immutable's won since the zk-AVM announcement. Is that because these sales team are able to pitch these things that the general public don't know about yet, that is giving Immutable an edge? Because they seem to be winning majority of the really high-profile products, the games that are coming out to launch.
I think they're just that good.
Yeah, they're pretty good, aren't they? I actually gave I don't know who Sorrow's manager is, but I know Sorrow's pretty senior in the sales team. And in my weekly newsletter about Immutable, I normally give a team of the week or a game of the week or something like that. And I just gave it to the sales team that last episode, because Sorrow and his team, because they are phenomenal. They're just absolutely kings of, getting the positive message out about Immutable, and obviously winning because of that.
Man, if I could screen grab the look we just got, oh my goodness. Oh man.
It must feel good to know that you've got that team. Like, if you build the kind of Field of Dream things, if you build it, that will come. That's garbage. You actually need, if you build it and you have an amazing sales team, that will come. It must feel so good to have that team going to back up your work that you're building. To, obviously engineers love to have people use their products they build. So do you want to talk about that a bit?
Look, I think you asked me like what excites me about working at Immutable, and I think at the end of the day, tech is cool, the process is cool, the games are cool, but the company is made by people who work at it, and I work with amazing people. I work with very smart, very driven people that really know what they're doing, I interview people for Immutable for different roles constantly, and they quite often ask me about this, like, how is it to work at Immutable? And I work with very smart people. They have so much energy, they have so much knowledge, and they are so open to new experiences and new things and learnings that just constantly inspires me. And it's not just about like the engineering team. Our product team is amazing. Our BD team is amazing. Team that works on development documentation is amazing. I just see a lot of very smart, very driven people around me, and I think that's the best thing about the company.
Present company included.
Yes.
We've worked that out in the 40 minutes we've been discussing with you, that you're obviously one of those as well. So congratulations on building this ZK EVM product, getting the community excited, and yeah, I'm like a little mess here because I'm more giddy now. I'm excited about when this ZK EVM gets released. So thank you for building it for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for everything. You know, taking the time to spend with us. Tell us a little bit more about what it is you're working on there, and you know, talking about purpose-built engineering and what it is you offer in Immutable with the Zero Knowledge team. And thank you again for coming and hanging out and telling us a little bit more about it.
Sure, the pleasure was all mine. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Awesome.
All right, that was really awesome, Inga from the ZK Proof team, coming on from Immutable X, giving us some insights of what it's like to be on the team there at Immutable. Really appreciate taking the time, and I'm excited really to see what's to come from ZK EVM and what it allows these games to do. And honestly, a lot of games have been waiting for the tech to really roll out a lot of their features. So I'm excited for it to just kind of come out and a lot of the games can get their stuff out there.
Yeah, I think from the discussion, it was like there's a bit of almost alpha in there, you know, like we're expecting, you know, lots of things have been talked about what's coming with ZK EVM, like the relay, all this stuff, but not a lot of detail about what they actually do and how they do it. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see these announcements come once testnet starts, to see what else this tech's going to do to make it easy for developers to build on the platform. I don't think people understand how important making building easy for developers is, and making tools that make it easy for gamers to get on and play the games. So interesting to see what happens there with that.
I mean, yeah, there definitely was like kind of some alpha, you know, really when she was talking about Relayer and things like that, and the intricacies of paying for gas when you may not have that token that gas is paid in. So
yeah, and the secret features as well, what she said that you know that's coming, and I'm looking forward to finding what they are. So.
Absolutely, and just you could tell from a developer getting excited about stuff and stuff like that, you can tell that we're getting close. So excited to see what's to come here.
Your bet's you've almost lost the bet. So unless it comes out in from 2 days of this recording on the so you know you've lost the bet. Well, it still has to come out in August for me to win. So you had the first half of August of ZKM testnet. Remember the bet?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember.
So you got 2 days to go, and I've got it's got to be out before the end of August, or we're both wrong. So I can't wait for that to see the game.
Well, I'm in the US, so I still have 3 days to go. So
Oh, that's right. We'll go off. Well, we'll go off US time. Because the US is the center of the universe.
Yeah, you didn't see the
You know
map,
that.
like the globe when we draw it. It starts with the.
Yeah, I've seen that map. US, everyone else.
Everyone else.
You seen that map?
Yeah.
The global map to the US. US, everyone else.
Yeah. Canada's just our top hat. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good idea. All right, cool. So ZK, that discussion was my favorite so far. I hope we can find out more very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to get more from the Immutable team to come by. So I know we've done some reaching out, and hopefully we'll get some of that coming here in the near future. So,
well, we do have a lineup with an onboarder, someone in the solutions team that deals with customers in the sales process and getting them on board. So hopefully that will be around about the time of the launch, and maybe you'll get Robbie to come on and say good day as well.
Yeah, as soon as he tweeted the other day that he was on a podcast recently, and I was like, hey, come on the pod, and you mentioned you talked to him, so hopefully we can get him to come by. Fingers crossed. So we'll see.
Maybe after ZK EVM testnet's launched, and so he can talk more.
That's exactly what I was hoping for. So we could talk a little bit more candidly about it rather than having to read between the lines or whatnot. So let's get started. We got some new projects, some projects that have been previously announced, just kind of building under the radar, if you will. And let's start out with MetaToyzDragonZ.
Yeah, I did a bit of research on that one. A sandbox, not the sandbox game, but an organization called the Sandbox Network in Korea. Huge organization around gaming. It touches every single aspect of gaming, from development to esports to socials, everything. Raised $100 million US, close to $100 million US in Series D funding. So they're pretty well established, building their MetaToyzDragonZ saga. It's like a little collectible game where you collect little dragons, pixelated style game, but a little bit cuter than pixelated. And it's a battle game. They're actually having a pre-registration game, so people can register now on the App Store or the iOS Store. And the more people that pre-register for the game, the more rewards that you get as a pre-register. So everyone should get on. And it's already unlocked the first link.
Like the first tier
milestone. Yeah, so
Okay.
we've got a long way. They want to get to 300,000 pre-registrations. They're only up to about a couple of thousand at the moment, but 10,000 is the next reward, I believe. So check that out. MetaToyzDragonZ Saga or the Sandbox Network on Google Play, Apple App Store. You can get a free mint now if you get in early. So if you do pre-register, you can then go onto their on Twitter. They've got a link to a free mint. So if you want the first 500 to do that, which it's still open now, so it must be still available at the time of this recording. So pre-register, jump on and get your free NFT mint. Can't believe we missed this project it was so many projects getting announced. We just forgot to talk about it because it is about a week old. This bit over a week old, this announcement. So sorry about missing it last week.
I think we've had a lot going on, and honestly, every week they're unveiling more stuff. So it gets a little hectic, but we do our best. We've had a lot to cover. So the next one that we had was it was already known that it was building on Immutable, but Rune Realms is officially announced now. So Rune Realms Rebirth and Rune Realms Clash are the two main games that they're coming out with. The Clash is kind of like a turn-based hex fighter where you have like a golem and something like that, and you have different vehicles and things like that. It looks pretty neat. And then Rune Realms Clash is like a Clash of Clans style game that honestly looks pretty cool. I like the artwork a lot, and excited to see what that's about. One thing I was interested about is with the NFTs, their deflationary NFTs that give you a revenue share percentage at Meta Studio. So Meta Studio is the main studio producing, and Meta Studio actually has a whole list of other games that they've already created and that are also in the pipeline. So pretty interesting to see what they're doing over here, and how they're building this out, and looking forward to seeing a little bit more about it. Actually, it looks like they have their mint prices available as well on their page. It shows that the Discord OGs have a $5 discount on their minting, and then to public it's $20. So pretty cool. Building on the ZK EVM Polygon. So
yeah, they when they announced in May, I think it was May, I jumped on a space with them, and they have a different take on how to grow the ecosystem. So they're not looking at making their funding through NFTs. They've got NFTs, but they're sort of like a separate thing that are revenue sharing, I believe. Maybe they've changed this. So this is 2-month-old data, and you know, they want to build the game first and make the fun play, and then introduce NFTs in the earning aspect later on once the game's a hit. So that was what they were planning on. I kind of actually challenged them on that on the spaces and said, I think you shouldn't do that way. But we're interested to see what they end up coming with. You know, and let me actually clarify that. Like, I think what the crypto gaming world offers is, you know, the real economies. If your game's designed to be a real economy, then you should use a token, is my opinion. That's just my opinion, personal opinion. It creates you know, that attachment to your ownership of the game, of your ability to earn money. But when it's a fighting game or a versus game, a PvP game, having a little few tokens on the line if you win or lose just gives me that extra little bit of a, you know, excitement about the game. And so I believe that they should put tokens in, but they said they weren't going to until after the games are largely successful. So it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing with that.
Yeah, that's an interesting take on it. But like you said, if it has a properly developed economy, then the token should be in place. But if you know, they're still kind of working out how people are going to be utilizing it, really, then I would see why they'd want to wait. But
there's lots of people that say that what, you know, I've seen a lot of people comment that, you know, even the NFTs shouldn't be NFTs until the games, you know, seem to be successful. So you know, you know, no one knows the right balance yet. There's nothing being a real hit out sustainable star. So all of us are just theoretical experts.
Absolutely, and I think it was Derek recently, Derek Lau from Immutable. He tweeted Ex-Immutable, excuse me. But I still really like his take on a lot of stuff. Is that it's hard to see what the future is because we don't have enough games out, right? And now that we have like 5-10 games in beta that are playable, hopefully here in the near future we'll start to see how this is going to play out and how these things are going to develop. And I'm really waiting to find out myself.
Yeah.
So this next one we have Crystale.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit.
So it's yeah, I found out about these guys at least I'd say 4 months ago, 3 months ago, and I was one of the first people in the server. They were permissionless builders. They had no relationship with the Immutable, and I helped them grow their community just through advertising, not advertising, but just talking about them and letting people know that they exist. They're building a TCG / probably like Shardbound, similar in Aradina.
Okay.
With that hex-based map where the hexes have buffs, and you've got different heroes that have different powers based on where they are and things like that. So it's like a strategical hex-based game. And they've got a real unique take on economy. Like there's going to be like the mode where you can put token down on the line for if you win or lose. So like kind of like betting. I haven't looked into too deeply to be able to explain exactly the tokenomics they've got, but it's there's 3 different modes. It's one fun mode, one of that betting, one where it's just in between those two, like maybe a ranked match that you'd have to pay. And yeah, it's just another vein. They're Dutch guys, family, 2 brothers and a cousin of the same family, and just really nice guys that building. They stopped because of the bear market and decided to come back again and built the team again. And they're all fully doxed, and I've worked closely with them. And they've also I introduced them to Immutable, the team there, and based on a third party that I'm not allowed to say, but there's this opportunity that's huge. It's going to be massive. It's a partnership that was involving Polygon as well as Immutable now, and as well as Crystale, with this Web2 organization that's got millions and millions of gamers. So I was one that kind of brokered that. They asked me to do the introduction because we had such a good relationship, and so I did that for them. And yeah, and that was apparently that was announced a couple of days ago that this has been signed, done now, a couple of months later, and it's going to be delivered, and everyone will find out about it soon.
Awesome. I can't wait for it. You still haven't even told me that, that's how serious, this is. It's not like offline he's giving me some sort of privileged information. So really excited to see.
Sworn to secrecy, mate. If I'm sworn to secrecy, I've got to stay secret.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, I can't wait for a lot of this stuff to start hitting, like the next one, Fractalins. It's like a smaller team too, and they won a hackathon community vote winner. So it already has some like, hey, we see what you're doing here type thing, and we like it. So that's always a good start to a new game. And I like what they're doing with like the co-op ARPG, allowing for a style of gaming where you're gonna go and do a dungeon, if you will, and you could play a dungeon by yourself, or you could go and play a higher level dungeon that you wouldn't be able to defeat if you weren't with teammates, right? And that's something that brings a spin to it that's really cool, as well as building the whole guild infrastructure and the whole like raid and everything infrastructure that gives people that feeling of ownership and that feeling of like, hey, nostalgia of when they've gone and done that in WoW or something like of the nature, right? And it's something that is, I think, underutilized right now. A lot of games are very stale in the essence that you're playing by yourself, and you don't necessarily get to show off your skills, quote unquote, other than like a leaderboard. So it's something to like also building a character so that like, hey, I'm building in this style, you build in that style, really shows like the, I don't know, like how the synergies, right? Of like, hey, let's go try this boss with this
combos,
these combos, and then if we can't beat them, hey, I got this other build that we can try, and that's something that's always fun.
They've got 20 team, at least 20 developers on their team, or 20 designers, developers, and artists. So they're small, but they're not completely small. Like a complete indie 2-3 man job. They have they do services for other games as well. So they've built games before. So they're not a new studio. They're from Kuwait.
That was really cool to see the Kuwaiti led team. I like
Very
seeing
proud.
that. Yeah.
They're very proud of their heritage, and that they're one of the first, if not the first, Web3 focused, Web3 game to come out from the region. They're still in flux with their tokenomics design. There's a lot that maximizing that big system of 3 different game modes. They've also got a hub, like so a 4th zone where you can just log in and just play around non-combat and just show off your characters. So that, I think that's really clever, because like if people own their NFTs and own, like, everyone says, what's the point of owning them if you can't show them off? So like you can show them off in a showroom, or you can check my wallet address, but actually in the game where you can go up to someone and view their armor and weapons and stuff and see that they've got this super rare item or this high level item that that you aspire to. It just brings me back to EverQuest days when I was a nerd and had this top 20 shaman in the world. And people used to come up to me and just go, wow, look at your items, and just be like dreaming one day I'll be like you. And then WoW come out and made it World of Clones. You'd log on and you hit the treasure chest until you're the same as everyone else. So and ruin that ability for that to shine. But maybe NFTs bring that back. Maybe NFTs, like where there's these rare, super rare, one-of-one style items that you can put on a character, you get to show them off. Like alluvium, being on a deck where you've caught one of the rarest of rare alluvials and are playing it on a board. People can see that you've got this character that not many other people have.
Yeah, exactly. Like some crazy Ember Links or Ranfire or something like that you like not many people have, and being able to say, hey, this one's mine, is really cool. And I like
that's sorry,
go ahead.
No, to me that's like what missing in gaming today. Like everyone can get access to everything because Riot and Blizzard and all the big game studios just get really fun games that hardcores can benefit in and dumb it down for the normies that are just casual players. League of Legends is Dota, but just for people that don't have the time to sink into it. And therefore it's bigger because there's more normies and casual gamers than there are hardcore. And so to me, those studios have destroyed that ability to aspire to be something better or see someone that's got better item than you, because they just all have the same items in every game. COD, every single game, everyone's got the same items because there's no. They realize they can make money quicker. So maybe I'm hoping NFTs can solve that problem. Because it is a problem to me. Yeah,
and that's what I was gonna say. I like the exclusivity. I like what they're doing, to make you stand out from the rest. So Guild of Gardens playtest, that was fun.
Yeah.
I played well over the average 8 hours, and it was really I really enjoyed being able to, once I was able to pass that 4th dungeon, figure out all the different heroes and start leveling them up and picking different synergies, like I said previously about Fractalins and stuff. But that was probably one of the best demos that I've played in a while.
No, I can't believe it. 4 to 5 months of development to get to that. They restarted this code base from scratch. Yeah, they had the art and direction and story and all that stuff design, but they had the vision of 2 years of trial and error and realizing what they wanted, and then to get that out in 4 to 5 months though is unbelievable.
And I played the first beta or alpha or whatever, and it was nothing like that. It's incredible.
It would be cool if you could control your characters on the map a bit and put them in positions and stuff, but like it is a bit of an auto battler rather than a roguelite, if you ask me. But I can see that it'll work for people. But I think the casualness where you can watch TV and play it or have a shower like Teo did.
Yeah. Well, you can control.
That was an easy win. You got to say that was an easy win in that competition.
Yeah, you can control like frontline, backline type stuff, and like when they do their ultimates. But I see what you're saying.
I mean, like the ARPG to complete auto battle by a couple of positional things and timing of your ultimates. It just seems it's very simplified, but it is like, you know, Candy Crush is one of the biggest games of all time, and I sit there and just baffle my mind at that every single time I think about that. You know, like, so it doesn't need to be like, if you don't get the ARPG right, like they didn't with the GOG playtest one, which was so boring. I could literally was like struggling to log in to a game, you know, that I was looking forward to so much when it was in beta. To this, where I was actually engaged and wanting to grow, and actually when they announced it only on iOS, the only iOS device I got in my house is my wife's mobile, so I had to register on that, and then we were fighting over when I was allowed to have it. I didn't get many hours in. I was constantly wanting to play, but couldn't, so because it was her phone. So yeah.
That's
anyway,
pretty funny. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It's definitely the right move for them. Chris Clay, like, you know, is you could tell he's demeanor was completely different at the release of this playtest compared to when he first took over the task of changing this project around.
Oh yeah, big time.
Can you notice how he was just so much more relaxed and not stress free, but it felt less stressed, and he did a good. Let me get that wrong. Like, I only looked into the way he was because of how much stress I thought he would be under to turn this project around.
Right.
And there's a few little things that, you know, that he'd come unstuck with the wording and that, because, you know, under extreme pressure that he would have been under to get this game delivered. You know, like it was supposed to be the flagship game of Immutable, and the previous team that built it just drove it to the ground. From not just the game, from the community aspect as well. Like, there's a lot of community members that were disgruntled about where GOG had been ended up, you know, before February. And then I've seen that community that slowly turn around and start to believe again. And now with this playtest, some of the people that were completely and utterly, GOG will never be something I'll ever play ever again. I'll just sell my assets when they go up. There's those people turn around going, that was fun. I really enjoyed it. So he's turned it around again, mate. Like, he's built 3 or 4 games that have been superstar hits, including Gods Unchained, considering it had 600,000 players at one stage. In the Web3 space, that's huge. And so, you know, he's going to do, I believe he's going to do it again.
Yeah, and I could tell when we went to do like the little walkthrough before we got access to the game, I could tell from the beginning that his demeanor had changed. He was like, as soon as they did the intro, he was like, "Hey, I want to start showing you guys gameplay." And he's like, you know, and he immediately started streaming and showing like, "Hey, this is my favorite thing to do," and hey, if you get this rune, make sure you get it. Like, you know, we made it legendary for a reason. And
I just think it was he had this mountain to climb when he first took over the project, and coming into the playtest, he knew he was on a winner. You know, he knew that the people were going to enjoy it, and so it was more. He's confident that they were going to enjoy the playtest. So because it was really fun, and the stats don't lie, you know, everyone played multiple hours. Hardly anyone logged in and never logged in again. So I logged in once and never logged in again. So hats off, Chris. Well done, mate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Golf clap.
Yeah, absolutely. So next, let's go into a little bit about GameStop situation with the, you know, their wallet, discontinuing their wallet. Big news, but not necessarily shocking. They hadn't updated the wallet in quite some time on iOS or Android, and basically they didn't you know, no longer had a team supporting the wallet, because I know quite a few people on that team that no longer work for the company, right? So pretty straightforward there. A lot of people in the GameStop community that aren't so Web3 savvy got scared, you know, and a lot of hollering of, "Hey, is this gonna be the end of Web3 for GameStop?" And I don't see it as that. They actually just updated their marketplace homepage for the first time in forever, so that's a good sign. And you know, the creator economy. I know that just yesterday, Loopring and Protocol Gemini and a couple other people had a big Twitter space and had a huge showing of support there. So I know the community's still alive and well. Also, I don't think that it is the end of GameStop when it comes to their PLAYR. Because I know
I'm interested to see your take on that, because I don't know enough about this aspect. But
yeah, so Telos said that, hey, we are not going forward with the partnership with GameStop, and my take on that was Telos really never had anything, and once they tried to lure people or projects over with the announcement, and like probably 10, 20, maybe if that 10 even got back to them to say, hey, yeah, we want to build with you guys. It was really strange announcement to start with, since Telos doesn't have any games. I mean, they have maybe 5, but those are games that are across basically every chain and have been for a long time, right?
Let me come in on that. So my take is PLAYR announced that Telos is going to be running their marketplace. Then weeks later, they announced Elixir is going to power their PLAYR. So what was it? Was Telos's technology going to run PLAYR, and then they pivoted to Elixir, or was what I believe Telos paying GameStop for marketing clout? Say, here's 20 grand or 30 grand or 50 grand. Let us make a co-announcement that we're partners in this PLAYR system, and then later on down the track, we can just go our separate ways.
Yeah,
because they need that clout to win games over to their.
I think it's
chain.
part of the second, but like I said, I think Telos used the opportunity to try to bring people to build with them, and we're unsuccessful, right? And then once that happened, they were like, okay, shit, no one wants to build with us. Then what do we do?
Keep playing GameStop.
Exactly. And then GameStop says, hey, we're not going to continue our wallet. There goes all interaction between Telos and GameStop. There's nothing else left. And when that first announcement came out about PLAYR, I did digging, and I did find that their PLAYR powered by Elixir, and it always said that on the info.
Yeah.
The one that Telos released never said that, because they had a special one that just said Telos X GameStop, and that was it. So that's my feeling on it. I feel like it will continue. Elixir still has a heck of a lot of games on it, and the Elixir launcher actually had an infographic of GameStop on there as well. One of the community members posted that as well. So
yeah, and Elixir plays GOG, and in the future is gonna have list all of GOG and Epic Game Store games on it as well. So it's going to be like an aggregator for players.
So exactly.
Yeah. So the official announcement from Immutable was that we just got off the phone with them. The marketplace is staying. They're still upgrading it, and they are going to be integrating Passport into it in the future. So
yeah, and as soon as they announced that they got rid of the wallet, I knew that. I'm like, wait, why would you even continue a wallet when the Passport's here? Okay, you're gonna have this ability for everything across the board. Doesn't matter if it's on Polygon. Doesn't matter if it's on what it's on. This will work. And I know that I know that Loopring as well is integrating creating a wallet with your email as well. So account abstraction is coming to Loopring as well. So makes a lot of sense.
Do you know, I like that this is happening. I really hope that the GameStop marketplace becomes people need 2 wallets if they want to integrate with Loopring stuff and Immutable stuff. So it becomes 2 identities, because how many times have you seen the people that use a GameStop wallet for both tokens and not understand that they're not equivalent tokens? Yeah. Like I've seen so many posts Getting back to GameStop future announcement. So I had a personal message with someone pretty popular in the space say that you're wrong, that GameStop's dead. I don't know because someone got fired. Yeah. Okay. So one guy gets fired, the whole platform's discontinuing based off that one.
They're just fear mongering.
Yeah, I don't know if it's fear mongering. I think they just think that they're right, that the community that's saying that GameStop's leaving Web3 is right, and this is the evidence they've got. That one anecdotal piece of evidence that one person's been let go from a team and given a reason. Like, do you know how many times you get let go, people? I worked in HR for 10 years. You know, how many times you say to someone, you're let go because of this reason, but it's not actually the reason? You know what I mean? Like, it could just say, yeah, we're closing down this aspect of our Web3 program, you're redundant, you know, and it could be because they're not performing.
Yeah.
And that's just a way easier way to get rid of someone and then have to go through the paperwork of
exactly.
making someone, performance managing someone out of the business. But in saying that, like, Robbie announced that on one of those podcasts he went on, that there is a big announcement coming. And he said, I don't want to hype it up with Immutable and GameStop partnership. And then after that, I was told by that person that it's actually been cancelled. Then after that, I think it was Cohen that tweeted, whoever it was, someone very high up made a post in Discord, completely separate to in their Discord that was posted on Twitter, that there's a big announcement coming with partnership with it very soon, but we're not quite ready. And both of them said the same thing, pretty much word for word. But you know, same meaning. So that's the partnership. There's something coming. I believe it's going to be a social tool. That's what's missing in the middle ecosystem.
Yeah.
And with the passport, so that a social tool that integrates with passport would make so much sense. So
yeah, we'll
see what it is.
I like what IMVU did. It's just too much focus on the fashion and stuff like that for my personal liking, right? So being able to have, but I like what they did with like having your own room and having your own, like, hey, you can make your avatar look however the heck you want and go into this room and you have voice chat, text chat, and everything. You can decorate your room how you want it and stuff like that. That's a lot of along the lines of what Protocol Gemini has done with the metagates. And building your own little studio type thing. They also announced in the space yesterday that their Protocol Gemini is making a Loopring org hub, community hub, which is basically going to be like a dedicated shared metagate experience for the whole community.
Nice.
So a lot is coming there. Loopring's really reaching out and supporting a lot of these projects that have stuck out and shown that, hey, they're building, innovating, and consistently bringing back the same numbers, and no one's leaving. You know, so that's huge. And on that same route, one of the projects that I was super excited about, and unfortunately, it looks like Hootie Brains is no longer. There is talk of a few of the artists that were on the team there at the end. They're still trying to get access to the 3D assets. And there's talk about some community members that have a lot invested in that project, trying to kind of piece together and build the thing back. But I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah, I just had that problem with the computer disconnecting. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yep.
Okay, cool. The reason for that looks like it's mental health issue. So, and the guys just disappeared with the code base and not sharing it. So it'd be interesting. That was the last time I read it. I'm not sure what's happened since then.
Yeah, he definitely was suffering from a lot of anxiety and may have gotten to a point where he felt like he didn't have a way to go forward or whatnot. But you know, it really threw me for a spin, because Matthew was one of the first people to purchase my NFTs when I was starting out, and he reached out and I had 100 of the runestones for Valhalla, and those were like the original hey, proof of concept, is this even something people are interested in, right? And we had sold 80 of them, and we're down to like the last 20, and just under 80 of them. We were down to about 23 or so, and he had reached out to us, and he's like, hey, I want to buy the last 20, pay you above floor value or what you're asking, and I want to disperse them to my community. And it was something I was like, dang, like that's amazing, and I still to this day have the number one serial number for that mint that I have saved, that we were gonna do a collaboration when you launched on IMX and stuff like that. So pretty sad to me that I was hoping that one day my stuff would be in something on an IMX, and hopefully sooner than later, but it's not looking good. So sad news.
Yeah, there's people. There were signs that he had mental health issues well before this announcement. So
yeah, and that's what people in the community have been saying. And I wish I had known earlier. We all fight our own demons. I am definitely someone to know about that. I, struggled with alcoholism, and I've been sober now for over 3 years, and I know what it's like to, even in sobriety, to know low points, and mental illness is not something to take lightly. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a scourge on society at the moment, isn't it? Really, it's I don't think people that haven't suffered from it can understand it truly what it is, because you listen. I did a lot of research and see what people do describe, and what I took from it is that it can be so crippling on your mind that every word you speak becomes a huge cumbersome effort, and that constant pressure is just drowning in your way of being. And it's not just I'm happy or an unhappy thing, like a lot of people think. It's not, this person feels sad. It's got nothing to do with happiness and sadness. It's purely about a state of mind that is spiraling out of control. And it's something very sad that I've seen a lot of people suffer from, and people close to me, do the ultimate step from it. So, which is, end it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I think before you tweet or say anything negative to someone, that's, make sure you're 100% certain that they're not before you do it. And if you don't need to do it, don't do it, because, your tweet could be the thing that pushes them over the edge. So,
yeah. And if you haven't heard from someone in a while, reach out to them. You never know what, and I always go back to what Robin Williams said, is it's the people that always look happy that need the help the most, a lot of times, which is shockingly true. So,
yeah. So I thought we could wrap up with a few little power and information about the ecosystem.
Perfect.
So
we're right at that queue.
Okay. So Wagner Games is partnered with Go GadgetBot Studios, the ones behind not Fractalians, Kydro. That really cool.
Kydro, yeah.
They've done a lot of art for AAA studios like Apex Legends and lots of different things. So you can see the artwork of Wagner go from. They've been talking about it for like how they're going to upgrade their art, but not telling us how they're going to do it. And it's just chalk and cheese to what they had into what this new. They started to release the artwork of their heroes that you choose.
Yeah,
champions.
They were like doing one a day or something. I've been keeping up with that. It looks great.
Yeah, it's definitely a good move. Michael Bisping's an implayable character in Block Lords. Aradina Warrior are looking to crowdfund just to get their game over the line. They think they can get there without it, but if you want to be part owner of a game, here's your chance. You can jump in and chuck a few bucks in or a heap of bucks in and become a game owner and earn earnings like a share. So it's not a token, it's an actual share. So that's an interesting opportunity. I've never seen that before. What else has we got? There's Mama Guru's is building leaderboards, which could make the game a little bit more fun if you can compete. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
They've also released Act 4, their next stage of the story. Another very unknown, under the radar, 0 followers game that came out of stealth 2 years ago and then went back into it unfamiliar territory. We've had a discussion about that in the background about their AI use, and you're like, well, it just looks like it's Mid-Journey because we were having, actually it was related to another conversation you and I were having. But I've went into their Discord and asked them, like, what is this, just Mid-Journey? What is it? And they're like, you have to wait and see. We've got something massive coming. So they are not denying that their artwork they're showcasing is Mid-Journey. So that's different to some company showing their artwork and not telling you it's done by Mid-Journey. They've been saying that 2 years ago they told me that they're building huge AI efforts into their game. So, and they reckon they've got something groundbreaking there. You can sign up to play for the Play Alpha playtest right now. Unfamiliar territory. It's going to be interesting to see how they've integrated AI to their game. What did you think about that?
Yeah, honestly, I have to see it to believe it. I have to see it to believe it, okay? Because, like I said, I've gone through their socials. It really seems like something I could do with like one other person and chat GPT. But if you're saying that they have a playable alpha of something, then I want to see it.
We'll go sign up.
Well, I'm going. I'm on my way right
Do it now. While I read the news out. So, yeah, I'm interested to see who's right there. Well, not right, but just to see how that outcomes. I believe in them. I trust them because of the interactions I've had with them. You haven't had that many interactions with them, then it just seems like too good to be true. But also, people told Elon Musk that he would never be able to land rockets, and it wasn't possible until he made it happen. So that's why I'm a believer. I'm a believer in achieving the unachievable. So if they're going to do it, who knows? I hope they do.
All right, I'm on their site. Where the hell do I sign up?
I know. No, it's on Twitter. There's a Twitter link on the Twitter link.
Okay.
Unfamiliar territory. Gods Unchained releasing heaps of content. They've got a new mode coming out called Pauper mode. Don't know what it is, but their sealed mode is what everyone's waiting for, and that's the one where where it adds more tokenomics. More utility to the Gods token, where you can spend in game on the game to bet or sort of thing, or to put a wager in. I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but there's like so much coming for that game. You know, there's once it goes mobile, before the end of the year, they've said, then it will be interesting to see what happens with all these game modes and these new ways of spending the token. Shardbound Playtest 2 announced. Well, something about Playtest 2 announced. I think you can go register for it. And that's about it for me.
Also, another Played Metalcore beta weekend is coming up next weekend, the 18th through the 20th.
Is that holder only, or is it for everyone?
Everyone, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I actually didn't get time to play this one gone by. I'll have to play this one.
Yeah, so come check it out. I think so. Each weekend beta, they're testing a different like mechanic of it. So I think this next weekend is going to be fun. I forgot what exactly it was, but I remember reading it and being like, "Oh hell yes, I'm in." So
cool. Oh yeah, one last thing as well. The new Ganymede, MetaKey founder Maddie, he started building a game off that success, and I have seen so many comments about how MetaKey looks after their community, and how people are extremely happy of holding MetaKeys. This guy's got the money to build their new Ganymede down pat. Like he's doing a sale right now, a danger box sale. They don't need the money. It's more about a community, support the community. It's $12, nothing. You can go get a danger box for $12. You get a skin or an item, or it could be a legendary item. It's a bit of a chance to get something great. And then if you get that, have their Gen 0 in-game new Ganymede NFTs. So jump on board and get involved with that if you want.
Yeah, and
That's on them.
I went over there and I minted 3 of the danger boxes. I got one of the rare out of the 3, so excited to see that come forward. So
There's actually one thing that annoyed me though. So I had a little bit of ETH on my layer 1 wallet, and but most of my ETH's on Immutable's wallet. So I logged in to buy. I just bought 2 boxes, and it didn't give me the choice. It just made me pay from the ETH layer 1 for the box that landed on Immutable. So I had to pay gas to spend ETH to buy the box, which was
yeah, same with me. There was no option to pay with Immutable X ETH, so there was only the option to pay with Layer 1 or your credit card.
Yeah, I get it. Like, there's people that, there's most of the equity, the liquidity is on ETH layer 1 at the moment, and that might have been the decision. But it takes 5 minutes to move the ETH to layer 2 if you really want the box. So, or at least make 2 options, so the people that are supporters of Immutable already and got all their ETH on that box can choose ETH layer 1 or Immutable layer 2 to pay for it, and then get the gas-free experience. The whole benefit of Immutable is gas-free.
Yeah, I actually I had more ETH on Immutable X, and they would have had me minting more if it was there, because I would have compensated for the gas fees as well. So, but it is what it is.
Yeah, well, I just think that it's kind of like if you're minting onto layer 2, like getting the ETH off Immutable back to layer 1 is the problem, not getting it on. So there's really no need to do it. You just show this a 2-minute step on how to get your ETH, onto layer 2 if you haven't got it there already. But for those that already, there's a growing and large community on Immutable, and maybe if the buy was gas free, they'd sell more. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and I think with the advent of Coinbase's base layer 2 that's on optimistic rollup, that people are going to start to notice layer 2s more and realize that they're not created equal, and start to realize that they should pay attention to the differences. So
it's absolute madness to me that the community want to stay on layer 1. I don't understand at all. Like
it's kind of a hive mind type mentality, and I feel that it has to do with some of the big players not necessarily wanting to give up to a different system, really, to be truly decentralized.
Yeah. Like, it destroyed Fractal, the game that was building on Immutable permissionlessly. They were building a game. They were going to do their mint on layer 2, a $20 mint. And they did a poll just before they minted. Do you want this on layer 1 or layer 2? And it was like 2/3 or three-quarters of the people voted for layer 1 over layer 2. And then at the time of the mint, the gas was $20. So the NFT was $20 and the gas was $20, and nobody minted bar a couple of people. Yeah. So they eventually said they're going to do it on Immutable next. And then I just think that experience was like, blockchain's dead.
Watch this. This next week, between the 15th and the 17th, there are quite a few mints happening. I'm interested. Okay. Yeah, I think like Rec League is like the 17th of this week, as well as some other projects as well. I'm interested to see. It's layer 1, so gas is going to go crazy again, and you're going to see a lot of people only be able to mint certain things. It looks like
KYC ever for Rex, I believe. I saw that on Twitter. Did I?
What's that?
You KYC'd for Rex?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. And guess what? I did it when I had to give my social. Now they opened it up. You don't have to give your social.
I've never ever given KYC for a computer game, and never ever going to in the future. That's my stance. I don't agree with much of what Stash says, but his tweet about that, I'm on his side 100%. Like, what the hell? Like, especially your driver's license to some rando company that you don't know nothing about. No thanks.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's it pushed away probably quite a bit of their audience, and that's the reason they dropped it so quickly. Honestly, I have nothing to hide. It's not like I'm trying to do anything, and I keep a close eye on my credit score and stuff like that. So let's see what's going on.
I don't. It's not the reason for having nothing to hide why I don't do it. I just have a principle that you, in the crypto world, I'm anonymous. You know, that's why I deliberately keep it that way. I'm going to keep it that way forever, and I don't want my details being leaked out in a you know, in an accidental hack or something like that, and then identity theft, all those issues we've got these days. Like I just keep
I feel you.
myself, mate. That's it. It's not nothing to do with what you know. I'm trying to hide from anything. It's just well, it's not from hide from paying taxes and things like that. It's about keeping my data safe. I've already been hacked like 3 times in Australia last year, including my Medibank, which is Australia has personal. We have private insurance as well for health. We don't have to have it because we've got Medicare system where you can get health for free. But if you do pay for it, you get benefits and tax time. So I pay for it. And that got hacked. And they showed me a leak of what they got. They literally got everything about me: bank account details, name, driver's license number, like literally everything.
Yeah.
So from now on, I just like if absolutely only necessary do you get my personal data. So
yeah,
sorry,
absolutely.
Rex, won't be.
Yeah, anytime you're transmitting that data over the internet, there's the possibility of it being leaked or tampered with. So obviously, do it at your own risk. But I thought it was interesting. They announced the price of the mint. It's 150 ape to mint a mech, and then it is 50 ape to mint the accessories box.
And you got to pay gas on every single transaction.
Absolutely.
That'll be fun. Hopefully, it's $150 gas wars, mate.
Yeah. Considering, I don't know. Who knows? It's going to be interesting to see a lot of mints happening this week on Layer 1. So we'll see.
I wish them well. It looks like a fun game for people that like that genre.
It does. I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to mint or not. It's a lot higher than I wanted to. So I'll probably wait, see how it goes. Not gonna die if I don't get in, but not a big deal.
So I wanted to move on to just one last thing to talk about is we just finished interviewing Chronoforge. They'll come out in episode 10. Look out for that episode as well. That's a really interesting conversation, and that game. I'm even more hyped after that conversation.
Yeah, that was a good one to have. Another game that I feel that's really been under the radar, and is gonna kind of come out and wow some people. So
the reason I brought that up in this episode is because I want to ask the audience, what should we do in the future? If we do 2 interviews in 1 week, should we put 2 interviews in the 1 episode, or should we just do 1? Or is this already too long? Should we just do one interview per episode?